time for the morning situation brief. Give me just a second. I'm having a couple of computer issues this morning, and we will get the slides up here in just a second. As the PowerPoint is coming up this morning, just to give you a quick rundown. There we go. No changes to the status or to our National Terrorism Advisory System over the weekend. Snapshot of the region this morning. We do have some updated numbers from last week. We'll get new ones today. Looking at the declarations, you see the closure of Louisiana there. No ongoing damage assessments this morning, and no fire management grant requests were received over the weekend. As we now switch over to the Geo platform, again, we've had some computer issues this morning. Some of our services are not showing up, but the status of our state EOCs has not changed. All are at level 4, except for Louisiana, which went to crisis action team level to monitor Danny as it comes up through the island. No changes to the status of the regional watch or national watch. Those are at normal operation. No changes to the status of our IMAP. No shelters are open within the region. And looking at no power out, one shelter is open with 6 occupants, and that's in Kerr County because of a fire. 1,500 acres and 4 homes were destroyed there. And no power outages to talk about this morning. We'll take a quick look at the islands here. There's the track of Danny. We'll get more from the Weather Service. Jonathan will have that update in a minute. And we're also monitoring the next storm, which will be Erica. So now we'll switch over to the big map and turn it over to Jonathan.
All right, thank you, Paul. So for today, getting into the weather, looking at some isolated to scattered showers and thunderstorms, no significant impacts to Fema 6 expected, as we've got a frontal boundary moving across the region and pushing through Texas and down into southern Arkansas and Louisiana later on today. But again, nothing in terms of severe weather or flooding expected with that through the next 5 days. And if we take a look out in the tropics, as we've already alluded to with what is now Tropical Depression Danny, just downgraded about an hour and a half or so ago this morning. As it pushes about 50 miles or so off of the Leeward Islands, it's expected to continue to remain a depression and then continue to decrease in intensity, and basically no other impacts than some cloudiness and perhaps some increased moisture out across the Atlantic, but no impacts to Fema 6 as it curves east well before heading anywhere near the Gulf. And then watching another disturbance there just off to the east, basically across the central tropical Atlantic there. Got about a 90% chance of developing over the next 5 to 7 days, and then pushing toward Puerto Rico again. But persistent upper level trough across the eastern United States is likely going to recurve that before it would even reach the continental United States. And then one more disturbance off the Cape Verde Islands there off the west coast of Africa still has a low chance at developing through the next 5 days. And then here a little closer shot up on Danny again, expected to remain weak as a depression and slowly fizzle out and dissipate here as we get into mid to late week with no impacts expected And if we look hazards the next 3 days, again, not expecting anything in terms of significant weather. You can see that precipitation bullseye there off the coast of Florida, out over the western Atlantic again, but again with everything expected to remain well east of FEMA 6 as that persistent upper level trough remains over the country. Should remain high and dry across all of FEMA 6 here through this week. And then our drought monitor, that we'll start getting data incorporated into that tomorrow for the next release coming out on Thursday, but still seeing drought conditions creep back in across the eastern half of Texas, down across southern Arkansas and into Louisiana. And space weather, had some G1 storms over the weekend with some of that expected to linger through today, but then quieting down as we head throughout midweek. And I think that's all I've got for today, unless anyone has any questions or concerns.
Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate that. If you have questions for the Weather Service, go ahead and type them in the chat window. If you're on the phone, go ahead and ask your question. In the meantime, we take a look at the events going on around the region. The highlight ones there are what's happening today. The Katrina 10-year anniversary event in the Texas room at 10 o'clock. On this day in